What you're seeing now is my contact information, so if you have any questions about the webinar, about the transition process, just please feel free to give me a call. So what we want to do today is just work on that design process, and this is how you would look at your implementation process from the beginning. The better you have laid out your plan, the easier would be to run your online training program. That is going to make everything so much easier. The idea of today's webinar is that at the end of the day, you can be able to write a paragraph, a page, a list of bullets of the things that are going to guide your program. All those rules and regulations and guidelines and procedures should be written and available for everybody within the organization so they can follow those leads. So first thing, the most important is the red wheel, which is the implementation plan. We have to train the people that are going to be managing the program. That's the LMS training. We need to have people that understand the tool, that can follow up, that can run the reports and see what's going on with the program. And then we should always have a rollout meeting where we present the program and the plan to everybody. I've seen tons of implementations, and I can tell you that the programs that really have a staying power is because they were properly planned, they have a set of guidelines, and they communicated properly to their employees what the purpose of this training plan is. We want to make sure that we keep in perspective who we are and what is it that we're trying to achieve as an organization. Training should be a reflection of the mission and goals of the organization. We need to know certain things to get where we want to go, and training is going to help us with that. But that connection needs to be a conscious one. Should not be an instinctive saying, oh, these are good courses, let's give it, have our associates work on this content. We need to have a plan of where we're going to be. We want to be the top perishable organization in my county, and to get to that, this is what I need to do. I need to have good prices, good layout, a very clean place. And so what we need to do is just train our people in food safety and sanitation, make sure that they understand what the produce that we're selling are and how we sell it and merchandise it. And then you figure your goal, and then you figure the courses that are going to help you get to that goal. That is the most important thing, and all that is communicated in the rollout meeting. Once you have your plan, everybody knows why we're training and what the purpose of the content is, then it's basically a maintenance role that is the three wheels that we have on the top, which is train, track the training, make adjustments on our path, because there might be things that are issues that come up or areas that we want to improve, and then we will adjust our course requirements to that area. Just if I can mute my phone. Okay. And then we have to do the maintenance, which means somebody leaves the organization, we need to inactivate that account. Somebody comes in new, we need to add that person. We need to assign courses. So it's basically keeping track. And if you have a good laid out, then your training, tracking, and maintenance for the administrator, that's not going to be more than a couple of hours a week, if that much. Because when people know what they're supposed to be doing, then you don't have to go around pointing to people what the process is. So it's about good communication and a good laid out plan. So with that said, then these are the decisions that we need to make. We need to look into who's going to be involved in this process, what are we going to be using, when are we going to be training, where, and those two go hand in hand. How are we going to do the tracking and hold people accountable for the training, and then what incentives and rewards are we going to have. So, and finally, the rollout meeting. And these are the topics that we're going to be covering today. So let's start with who is going to be involved. In the system, we have basically two types of individuals. We have the people that are going to be students that are going to be taking the courses, and then we have these four roles that can be all in one, deposited in one person, or it can be different persons or multiple people doing several of these roles. But that we need to have somebody who's a decision maker, and that is the person that has the authority to enforce training and to define the policies. Somebody that is going to say, this is what we're going to be doing and why are we going to be doing it. Then you're going to have a program administrator role, and that is the person that is going to go with the day-to-day of a new course comes out. Let's look and see who in our store will benefit from that course. It's the person that will help set up the deadlines. We're going to train everybody, and we're going to review their training progress in their performance review, or we're going to do it every quarter. So somebody who thinks about the logistics of the program. Then we're going to have a program coordinator, and this coordinator role, it's going to be basically a curriculum coordinator, and this is a new position that we're going to have in the new system. There's going to be an additional cost for that, because this is a special function that will allow you to expand your program in terms of developing learning plans, custom learning plans for your organization, and doing special assignments. So the reason for the fee is because we have to do a special setup and give authority to that person or to that account over the courses. So so that's a new position. And then you need to have a coach and a mentor, and this could be somebody that is directly involved with the program, or somebody who's doing that role in helping developing people within their department. So make sure that when you look at your team, you know who's going to be the person that is going to set up the guidelines, the person that is going to be working with the employees, the person who's going to be deciding who takes what courses, and then that coach mentor, which is extremely important in the development of any individual. When we're deciding about the people, we need to make sure that who's going to be responsible for the registrations. What is the time that we trigger a registration? So somebody comes in new when HR is filling out the paperwork. What will trigger that point where somebody is added into the system? That moment needs to be clearly defined. And also, one of the things that I always recommend to everybody is to create a login format for your username and password. And what I mean by that is that username and password is the thing that people call us the most for. So if you have a login that has probably a prefix that identifies the store, and then a number that identifies the employee, if they know that it's going to be the first three, this prefix for the store, and this and the last four digits of your social security number, that will help everybody come up with what their user or password is. So make sure that you have kind of a template for your username and password. In terms of how much training, and this is a question that I get very, very often, usually stores that are on average doing a training program, they do about 30 hours of training per employee per year. That means that it's online training, it's classroom training, it's informal training. Stores that are a little more better ranked in their markets, they do about 36. And actually the top stores and top retailers, they do about 50 hours of training per employee per year. There is a very direct and strong correlation between the amount of training that you do and how well your employees perform. Obviously, the more they know, the more engaged they are, and the more prepared they are to deal with the customers and do a service that will make you proud of. If we look at stores like Wegmans, they do about 70 to 75 hours of training per employee per year. So if you plan your training properly and you allocate the right amount of hours to training, then you will notice the difference. What type of program, when we're talking about this, you can have an open program where you have a voluntary system. People just are offered the training program and they pick and choose what they want to train on. From what I've seen, and that works in certain organizations, most of our stores benefit from a structured program where people are told what courses are important for their position. There's always a dialogue that needs to happen because people might have special interests. So you want to allow people to contribute and decide and have a say on what they're going to be training. They might have some priorities or some areas where they feel they are more weak and they want to improve. So kind of do a general layout for specific positions in terms of what courses people should be taking, but then have a dialogue with the employees and the supervisors to decide what are the priorities, what are the courses that are most important for this employee to get them faster to where they want to go. And there's also consider a blended program. When you are looking at somebody's development and using the online training program, also you must consider all the other training pieces that you offer that are tied to somebody's development, and those should be blended. Those should be considered as a whole. This idea of having online training being a separate set will not make it as efficient as it can be if you really integrate it in the development of the individual. We offer all our retailers learning paths, and these learning paths give you basically a description of the positions that are in that learning path. This is an example of a learning path for the bakery. So you have first a job description for a bakery clerk and then for an assistant bakery manager. And depending on how big your bakery department is, you might have additional positions that you want to include in this path. The whole idea is that you can have a complete list of the courses that you deem necessary for somebody who's developing within the bakery department. This can take, you can do a plan that it's for the first 3 months of employment, and then another one for a first year, and then another one for the following 2 years, and then a recertification path, or you can do just one single path that includes somebody's career within the department. But just make sure that people know what is expected of them. And when you have it in writing, then everything starts making sense. So I would say look at your main departments in your organization, and then you can use our learning paths and then customize this for your organization. And if you decide for the new system that you want to have a curriculum coordinator, then you can use that function and then have them create these specific learning paths and assign them automatically to the employees so they know exactly what they should be taking. So that's about the learning path and what are we going to be taking. Couple of tips: list all the positions, group them by department, do your learning path, and then give people the leeway to customize a path to an individual. You must take into consideration what their background is, what their knowledge is, and what their interests and strengths are when you assign a curriculum to somebody. So that's about the what. Now let's look at the when. And when and where are kind of hand in hand together. We need to consider when will students train. You have multiple options. You can have people train on their own time. If you have a voluntary program, you can have a designated training time within their schedule. You can do it on demand, but you need to have a policy in your manual that specify when students are going to be training. The systems that the programs that I've seen that work the best is when they have a specific set time for training. It could be half an hour once a week before your shift starts, and that's usually the best schedule. Just when people come in fresh from home, they haven't dealt with anything else, they have their mind clear, they sit, they work on training for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, however time you want to allocate to them, and then they go on the floor to work. And that connection from going from what you just learned to applying it in your work time, then that makes that knowledge a lot more solid. But make sure that you have a policy of when people are going to be allowed to train or given the opportunity or assigned training time. In terms of when, we have to consider compensation. My first rule of thumb I'm sorry, is check your local laws. Make sure that you understand what it's allowed within your jurisdiction. Some areas have very strict laws on what you can require or not from an employee. Others have you have a lot of leeway. Whatever it is, just make sure that it meets your local laws and that it's written on paper and everybody knows what it is. If you have people training within their shift, then it's not a big deal. They're going to get their hourly rate as they would normally would. You can say it's not compensation. I give you the opportunity. I give you this tool. If you want to go develop in your own time, then by all means do that. I have some stores that what they do is they allow students to do training outside of work, and they compensate them for the estimated duration time that we offer for the course. So it's kind of an implied agreement between the employee and the store. And if somebody completes a course in half the time, then they get the benefit of the extra pay. If they take 3 hours, they still get the estimated duration time. So that's something that needs to be verified, obviously, with your local laws. And there is some people that offer a flat fee per course completion. So they say it's $25 for every course that you complete, regardless of how long it is. So make sure that you have in your books a specific indication on how people are going to be compensated for their training time. Where are they going to be trained? We said already they can train at home. Whatever they have an access to an internet connection, they can train. But you should have a policy of where are you expecting people to train. With the new system, you can get tablets to do the training. So location per se is not that, it will not be that big of a deal. Because it will not be tied to a desktop computer. But make sure that you have specified where our students are going to be training. And in terms of the where, the technical requirements for the new system, I'm going to be sending out a specific requirement list, but basically it will not be browser specific. Pop-up blockers is always good to have it disabled, and the more security you have, the harder is the communication between the systems. But it's not necessarily a requirement for this new system. Headphones are always recommended because there's audio in most of the courses, so you want somebody to be able to listen without distractions to the narrations in the course. So this system is not browser dependent, so that's going to be an advantage. Tracking and accountability. Now, we need to talk now about how are we going to know if our program is growing and it's providing the results. One of the things that you should do when you're planning your training program is have a conversation with your department heads and with your associates. Make sure what are the areas that they get their input on, what areas are important to them, where are they having problems. As a manager or owner of a store, you know what the main issues are, and take a look at those issues and what your goals are, and see what of those things can be addressed by training. Obviously, there are certain things that if your roof is collapsing or you don't have good lighting in your store, those are things that training will not solve. But if you have employees that are not really caring about their customers, or people that are not following procedures as necessary, those are things that can be addressed with training. So make your list of issues, the list of goals, and then look at training and address those. Once you have those benchmarks, then when you're evaluating your training, you have something to compare against. I mean, are these issues are being addressed? Are we improving? You can also say, am I closer to my goal? Am I moving in the right direction? So you need to do that benchmark before for you to be able to have proper tracking and accountability. In terms of the technical piece of tracking, we do work in a one-year cycle. So if you've been with us for more than a year, you know that by December 31st, that's when we close our annual cycle. For this year, we are expanding that until February 20th because we didn't want it to close and restart a new year if we were going to migrate into a different system. So for this year, it's going to be February 20th, the deadline for everybody to complete the courses. That's when we're going to freeze the system and start the move or all the history into the new system. But at the end of the year will be, for our annual training cycle, would be December 31st, again, when we come to the end of the year. You need to, to be able to track, you need to obviously run reports. So you need to make sure that you know who's responsible for running the reports, when are those reports are going to be discussed, because you can have all the reports, and if you don't look at them and you don't try to understand what's going on with your training, it will be a moot point. There has to be a place where the results of what we find in the reports are discussed, and then actions taken based on what the findings are. So that needs to be somebody's responsibility. If it is everybody's responsibility, nobody will follow up. So just make sure that you appoint somebody to be responsible for running reports and addressing the data. The findings of our report can be addressed by the supervisors, by the students, by the store as a whole, but the function of running the reports should be somebody's responsibility. And then on those follow-ups, decide, okay, I find I'm going to run the reports and I'm going to look at them by department. Are we going to look at it as the company as a whole, as a store as a whole? But make sure that you decide ahead of time who's going to be responsible for addressing the issues found in the report, and ultimately who's responsible for talking to the student. So that's our tracking. Let's talk about incentives and rewards. And this is not about showering people with gifts and giving extra money. What I would say is stay away from money. It's never a good idea to equate training with financial gains, because then people are not learning because they want to improve themselves. They're they're doing courses because they want extra cash. So cash and monetary rewards are not the way to go. But I think it's very, very important that we have some level of recognition. We have stores that have fantastic programs. It doesn't have to be an expensive proposition. Maybe just printing the certificate in a nice parchment paper that is going to cost you 10 cents and have the supervisor have a conversation with the employee and addressing the course. That might be a much more incentive for an employee than a $25 gift card. So make sure that within your program you have a way of recognizing students. It could be something that you do at the end of the year, something that you do during their performance review, but at some point you must acknowledge the achievements in learning that your employee has gained. It could be something that is related to the application of what they learned. Maybe somebody, as a cashier, reduced their number of voids, or somebody gets an extended number of customer satisfaction good ratings. But make sure that you put within your program a point where you're going to recognize the training. You need to make it visible. Training must be important for you in order for it to be important for the employees. The value that you give as an administrator to the training is the same value that employees are going to give to it at their own point. So make sure that you have some incentives and rewards in your plan. And those should be acknowledged in the employee manual. In terms of learning incentive programs, we do have the PIN program. This is a voluntary thing, so if you want to recognize people in terms of how many courses they have completed, we offer those pins. You can contact us and we can provide you with those. In terms of the how, now let's go ahead and review the policies that we need to have in our employee manual. We need to have a registration policy. When are people going to be added into the system? Is it going to be prior to hiring? It's going to be during the first 3 months, during the first week. It's going to be ready when they start their first day. Make sure that everybody knows when is the point where people are going to be registered, and that you have that login formats in place. In terms of learning paths, make sure that you have at least a learning path per department. The more detailed, the better, and include in there those activities that are outside the online training program. So it should be an all-encompassing learning path. And if you need access to those learning paths that we have already created, shoot us an email, and we will be more than happy to send you the Word documents so you can customize it with your logo, with your activities, with the courses that are important to you. Then you should decide where people are going to be training. Our recommendation within the store boundaries, when are they going to be training? Our recommendation before their shift in short periods of time. Some of our courses are an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours long. They are divided in parts, so you can have somebody train technically for 20 minutes to 45 minutes while they do the first part of a course and then do the testing, and then they can come back tomorrow or the week after. The more you chunk the knowledge, the easier for them is to process. The standard is that you remember from a training session anywhere from 5 to 7 things. So if you train for 3 hours and you're still going to remember 7 things, there's a lot of knowledge that is going to go unnoticed. So if you concentrate in shorter amounts of time, then you're making your training a lot more effective because they have less content to overwhelm them. So when to train, then we need to talk about, you need to have a policy on tracking. When are we going to review results? If you have meetings in your organization that are once a month or once a week, those are the times where we should be looking at training and how we are progressing. And remember, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We don't want to overwhelm people and give them a lot of training. Paulo says people are like sponges. Once they reach their saturation level, there is no more that it can absorb. So we want to go slow, we want to go over time, and we want to use training to develop a learning culture. So tracking, it's an important piece. The compensation, just make sure that that is explained in your employee manual. Accountability, so who's going to be responsible to go and tell somebody you're not doing your training as you're expected, these are going to be the consequences. Or on the other hand, somebody who's going to be the person that is going to go to somebody and tell them, you did a great job, we're very proud of you, and we're going to make you learner of the month, for example. So what are you going to hold people accountable for, and what are going to be the rewards and the consequences it's very important. And you should have also in your employee manual a list of the resources. Who are the people that should be contacted regarding your online training program or your development program? I would say think of this as a development program where online learning is a very important component, but it has to be put within the context of developing the individual to reach their goals and the organization goals. So those are the policies that we have. Let's talk a little bit about the rollout meeting. In the rollout meeting, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. This could be something that is done for the whole group. It could be something that is done by departments. But it's very important that somebody with authority and representative of the organization address the employees and explain to them what these policies are, what they mean. It's there available to answer any questions a student may have. It is important for people, if you're rolling out new, to people that have not had an e-learning experience. If you can do a demo, show them how the system works, it will make a lot of people feel at ease and comfortable with the new program. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. Just show them what the login screen is, how they enroll in a course, and how a course looks, and that would be enough for somebody to feel a lot more comfortable with the process. And then you must address the resources. Who should I contact if I have a problem with the iPad or with the desktop or with the connection? If there's a problem with a course that it's not launching, there's a problem with something that is not working within the learning management system, who they should be addressed. And those concerns regarding technical aspects, some of them might be our jurisdiction. I mean, if a course is not launching, if a course is not showing a test, then they should address us because we can get that fixed for you. But if it's something with the equipment that you have available, then who is responsible for that equipment, who they should contact to. If they have a question about their learning path, who is the person that they should be addressing? So there should be a technical equipment resource there. There should be a learning development resource, and they should be, and there should be us in terms of the course system. So if you have those things, you should have a good rollout meeting, and be ready to address questions, because you want to be this an open discussion and figure out where your people stand regarding training. Statistically, a lot of the people that leave the industry, they leave it because they feel like they don't know exactly what to do. They don't feel that they have been prepared to do their job properly. And from what I hear from most of the people that call me because they're looking for an online training program, that is actually the case. If you just have somebody shadowing somebody for a couple of hours and then you expect them to know all the ins and outs of that position, you're really sabotaging that individual, because there's a lot of intricacies, things that are very specific to our industry, that unless you come with already with a background, that people are not gonna have. And then on the other hand, you also have people that have been with you for a long time, and you want to grow them. You want to make them better employees. You want to give them a path to progress within their careers. So a rollout meeting with a clear discussion, it's very, very important. This is one of the last things we're going to address today, is why training fails. And in that sense, the number one reason why a store doesn't have a good training program is because there's no support from the top. And I see this, this hypothesis was generated when we had large groups, and they all have the same policies, they all have the same expectations. And some stores were doing great, others were doing absolutely no training. And when we looked at those stores, the reason is management. If management really is not behind the training, it doesn't make it a priority, it's never going to happen. Just think that employees are going to pay attention to what you pay attention to. So if for you training is flying under the radar, nobody else is going to come up and stand for it. So just find the right people to do the follow-ups and run the program, but make sure that it's a priority of those decision makers. Lack of alignment with store goals. That is one of the things that is most important at this stage of planning. Training should help you go where it is that you want to go. If your claim to fame is your produce department, then everybody in your store should have at least the basic produce course, because you want that thing that is the most important for you to be spread and known across your whole staff. So make sure that whatever you want to go, that you're going to put the training that helps you get there. Managers and supervisors are not involved. If you have somebody in an office just thinking and planning what a nice training program you're going to have, but the supervisors are not following up, they're not understanding what the employees are learning, then that knowledge is really segmented and it will not be applied. Managers and supervisors must be involved in the development of their teams. And there's no follow-up. So if nobody is checking, it will fizz out and nobody will continue training. In terms of assignments, this is what I'm expecting that you should be able to do after we talk today. You should be able to put together an employee manual section that illustrates the policies and guidelines that you're going to have. You should be able to do a learning plan based on job positions or by department, however works best for you. But if you have a learning plan and somebody comes in new and they're a cashier, there's no second thoughts. I mean, you know a path for them. You just have to discuss and prioritize what courses are important. So you don't have to redo this over and over again. And then you must plan a rollout meeting if you are relaunching your program. With that said, those are your assignments. I'm going to unmute everyone. So if I want to know if there are any questions, if this has been helpful to you. Is this a good plan that you might be able to follow up? Any questions? Any thoughts? Phones are open, so you can go ahead.
So we are unmuted and you can hear me, Anna?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I had the one question about whether the learning plans by job were already available or if they were with the new system, but you answered that question, and I will be shooting you that email.
Yeah, shoot me an email, and I'll give you that. We'll send you, we have them by departments, and then you can customize the job description, you can customize the course selection, and that can be something that you hand out. If you decide not to have a learning coordinator, curriculum coordinator, then that document is the guide for the student to go through the courses. Okay? Any other questions?
Anna, it's Todd at Susanville Supermarket. I have a question about the fee that you mentioned. You said there was an additional fee.
Okay, yes, that's a good question. And I want to make sure that this is clear. In the new system, all the stores, this is what's going to happen. So let me put it in the big context of things.
Thank you.
When we transition everybody to the new system, everybody is going to transition as a student. What's going to happen is you're going to shoot me an email once everybody is in the system, and you're going to tell me, okay, these people are going to be my administrators, and I'm going to give them specific rights. Because when you do the transition, they're two different systems, so those specifics of who's an administrator and who's not are not going to transfer. So we're going to have to identify those administrators, and we're going to give them rights. So that administrator will have the rights to see all the reports, to enroll students, and manage students as we had in our old system. But in this new system, we have an additional functionality, and this additional functionality would be a curriculum coordinator. And you don't need to have a curriculum coordinator. But if you want to have specific assignments to specific students, and you want to have a custom learning plan for each one of your employees, or you want to have a specific learning plan for all your cashiers, so when you log them in, they get this set of courses assigned to them. If you want to have that functionality, that is an additional setup, and it's going to be $250 a year for one curriculum coordinator. And the reason we're charging that is because that position requires a huge setup because we have to make that person co-owner of all the courses, so they have access. Every time a new course comes in, that position must be reset. So it's an ongoing maintenance for that position. So that's the reason why we're doing an additional charge for that. But you don't need to have a curriculum coordinator. You can manage the program the exact same way that as you've done it before with your regular administrator. Did I answer that correctly?
For me, here at Susanville Supermarket,
Uh-huh.
we've been administering this for, years and years.
Uh-huh.
I think so 7.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no need for me to pick up the additional fee.
No.
We're already administering in the fashion that you explained.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
All right.
If you choose not to have a curriculum coordinator, you're not gonna, this is an above and beyond of what normally you would do.
Okay.
So to address that, let me escape here, and I want to show you. You bear with me a second. Let me just log in as a administrator here. And I'm going to show you what the difference is in terms of a student. What would a, so let me see, let me use Rosie's. Okay, this is somebody who has this account. This person has a learning plan.
Okay.
And this group has a curriculum coordinator, and what that curriculum coordinator can do is this: they can create this company is called Fair Play Foods. They created their cashier bagger curriculum, and it's custom for them. They can put deadlines on this. They can pick and choose the courses. They can decide, I want you to do this course, and none of the other courses will be available until you complete that. So if you want to have that additional functionality and create your custom curriculums, then you will need that curriculum coordinator. And you can assign multiple people specific curriculums. You can have an onboarding specific curriculum, and you can assign it to every employee that you want specific to the detail. If you don't have this, if you don't want this, you still have your course catalog with all the courses, and when an employee gets assigned, gets a course and it's working on a course, they will have my courses where they can they can have the courses that they have been assigned to. So really it's a matter of people who want to customize it and want something very specific from their program, they will benefit from that curriculum coordinator. If you've been running the program for a long time and just telling people what courses they need to take works, it's not rocket science. So does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. Next question. Just so.
Anna, this is Mike Bile calling from Sendix or online here. Did you say you had learning plans for each position?
Yes.
Okay. And how do we obtain that then? Is that via email to you?
Shoot me an email. You
okay.
distribute those when people sign up. Part of the package that we send out, those go in. But
the webinar thing.
But just send me an email and I'll send you copies of that.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll make it available to you.
Okay.
And what's the date that we're going to roll into the new setup?
Okay, good question. So this is the timeline. Let me just go here to, oops, to our website. And I'm going to go to the IGA website. You can go to, depending on which organization you're in, this is the timeline. February 10th, if you click on that button, it will take you, we have a 2015lms.com site where we are posting and keeping track of all the webinars and all the information. And this is where this webinar is going to be posted to. So the timeline is, as it is today, February 20th, we are going to freeze the current system. So you can still keep training people. Just make sure that they finish what they're working on by February 20th, because that's the day that we're going to freeze and do the export of the data. That data will need to be cleaned up and then imported into the new system. And we are calculating that a week should be plenty of time for us to have that data there and then launch the new program available on March the 2nd. So that is the planned launching date to start in the new system. During February, there are some things that still need to be tweaked, but I'm going to be starting doing webinars tomorrow with people that want to roll out without their history. So we probably are going to be doing some initial administrator webinars in February.
Okay.
So keep an eye on the emails. I'm trying not to send too many things out. So when you see something and the emails are coming from me, from my address, because usually when we send from the Institute general account, they're blocked. So I think we have better results if we send it from somebody within the group. So that is the plan. February 20th, we freeze the existing system. We have a 1 week of downtime where no training is going to be available. neither system is going to be working. And March 2nd, we'll launch the new one. And then training will be during that week of downtime or prior to that, sometime in February. Okay? I can't hear you. Can you speak up? Is anybody? Is there any question? Since you guys are online, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that it's clear, we need how we need to prepare for this transition. I think the first thing we need to do is just make sure that everybody cleans up their system. This new system, the fees are based per student. I mean, the charges are per student. We're going to keep the same model we have of a 1 annual training fee, but if people are overusing the system, that is going to be an additional cost. So if you have, for example, I was working with some people this week, and there's some individuals that have one employee has 3 or 4 accounts. In this system that we have currently, it doesn't make any difference. In the new system, it's going to be, it's going to have a financial impact. And we are absorbing all those costs. But if we see that people are really creating more accounts than what they need, then we might need to reevaluate that. Does that make sense? So just make sure that you go back into the system and run the student report and look at your employees and see who shouldn't be there any longer, so we don't transfer that account into the new system. And if people have duplicate accounts, just make sure that you transfer one and inactivate the other. So that is going to be very important. So clean up your system of students that you don't have, that don't need extra accounts, and also be aware that we're only going to be transferring the last 3 years of data. Okay, so anything prior to 2011 and before, it's not going to be transferred. So if you need to have that data, you can run a report and actually capture all that information in Excel. So you can have that historical data if you extract it from the system. But in the new system, we're going to go as far as 3 years, because that is basically the statute of limitations on training. So training that is prior to 3 years really doesn't have much standing to it. Our actual recertification time is 2 years, so anything beyond three years is not really that valuable. So any questions? Does that make sense to you guys?
Anna, this is Eric with Gary and Leo's. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Since you are talking about the data cleanup, I had one quick question.
Sure.
As long as we inactivate the student, that should be all that is required. We do not also have to inactivate all of their knowledge positions. Is that true?
Yes. As long as you go in the user details wizard and click the inactivate button, that student will not, when we do the report out to do the data transfer, that data is not going to come out.
That's exactly what I wanted to make sure of. Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate that question. You have no idea how much. Yes. All you have to do is user details, inactivate, and we're good to go. Any other questions?
Ana?
Can you hear me?
Who's this?
Macy with
Ana,
Liberty IGA.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. 773.
Okay, now.
I'm sorry. Can we go ahead?
Okay, Ana, this is Eric from Lawrence Brothers.
Oh, hi, Eric.
So, yes, so I'm like relatively new to the system, since I've only been here for like less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so is there like a certain amount of limit I could go over, or no? Is there like a certain amount of people I could enroll in the class?
No, as it is right now, there is no limit. There's no limit. what I was referring to is in the new system, there is, we are absorbing the cost of having additional accounts because we want to keep the system open so you can have as many employees as you need to in the system, because we believe the more people you train in your store, the better it is. What I want for us to be conscious in this new system is to eliminate those accounts that are not necessary, those duplications that people that are still not, that are already not in the company, so we don't use accounts that we have to pay for, and they're not going to be, they're not needed. You know, it's just using just what we need.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anna, can you go over what the training tomorrow is?
Tomorrow's training is at 10 a.m. again.
Well, what's it about? What's the training going over?
We're just going to look into the administrator features of the new system.
Okay, thank you.
It's all new system. And for those of you that might not be familiar with what's going on tomorrow, we are offering to those stores that are not interested in keeping their history, and an example. I have a retailer that has not been using the online training really, and they just want to start fresh. So what we will do is we'll get them started where he doesn't care about his history. He doesn't care about what employees did before. He's going to relaunch his program from scratch. So those people, I'm going to be training tomorrow so they can get started next week. So they're going to start with the courses that are available. We have enough courses in the system now that all the basic important courses are there. They're still working in some, bringing in some of the courses, but those are the ones that have the lowest usage. So, so anything that is position-based, the produce library, just those general knowledge courses, those are already in the new system.
Oh, okay.
So if you're going to roll out and you don't care about your history, then you can join us tomorrow, and we'll show you how to get started into registering people. Actually, this new system, you can get a spreadsheet and bring everybody at the same time. You don't have to register employee by employee. And so I'm going to show you how to do those setups and how the whole thing works, how to run the reports and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's what's going on tomorrow. You're welcome. Another question? Is there any other question? Was this helpful today? Is this something that you can use to take a second look at your program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Ana, that was very helpful.
Okay. Is there any areas that you have, that you might have doubt, that you might want some more information, or some areas that you want to discuss a little further? Are we good?
Ana, this is Eric in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to start tomorrow with just a couple of users so that we could do the training, but really, not import all of our users without their history, would that be feasible? Is that doable? Or just make some users, one or two users?
Okay. Let me think for a minute.
Or let me put it this way: if I started tomorrow without the user's history, then when you do the rollout, will their history be loaded up? Or does that mean that I'm starting them without their history, period, and their history will never be uploaded?
I would give me, let me see. I can create a store, and I can create a dummy administrator for you to play with. I would not put anybody that will be coming in with history.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't
Yes,
want,
it does.
because if I create your account now and you have some history, then that's going to interfere because your username is already going to be in the system. The system is not going to know where to put that history. So I want to avoid any, if it's something that is not going to come with the history, an account that is not going to come in the history, then we should be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
So anybody who wants to participate in the webinar tomorrow, you're more than welcome. It's still, I'm still learning the system. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I start doing something, I discover something new. There's so much power to this new tool and so many little details. And it's all good. It's all fun. It's much easier to do. It's all visual. So if you feel like you want to join in and take a look at it and start getting familiar with it, you're more than welcome. I think the more you know, the better you'll be when we do the rollout. So that's my piece. Any other questions? Are we good? So it's 11:06. So we didn't go that much over. I thought we would be. So I'm gonna let you go then. If there are no more questions, if you have any questions or comments or any thoughts, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. So so if you decide that you want to take a quick peek at what's coming, I don't guarantee a flawless flight for that first demo, but I'm sure you're going to get excited as I am with this new tool. It's so much easier. I'm just ready to be in it right now. So have a good morning, and shoot me an email if there's any questions. Thanks so much for your time and your attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.